Oh, it doesn't matter. You don't want pain or pain? Yeah, both. I just said, just do what do you need to get? It's cup draft in there, and we've got a stubby of cup dry, stubby holder.
Yeah, that's right.
It's up to you. I'll probably be doing it too.
Ladies and gentlemen, could I please ask you to be upstanding? Thank you.
When I got the news today, I didn't know what to say, so I just hung up the phone. I took a walk to clear my head, and this is where the walk-in led. Can't believe you're really gone. Don't feel like going home, so I'm gonna sit right here on the edge of this pier and watch the sunset disappear. And drink a beer. Funny how the good ones go too soon, but the good Lord knows the reasons why, I guess. Sometimes a greater plan, it's kinda hard to understand. Right now it don't make sense. I can't make it all make sense, so I'm gonna sit right here on the edge.
Please be seated, everyone.
And watch the sunset disappear. And drink a beer. So long, my friend, until we meet again. I'll remember you and all the times that we used to sit right here on the edge of this pier and watch the sunset disappear. And drink a beer. And drink a beer. And drink a beer.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome all of you. family and friends of Elva Ronzio. Drink a beer. I notice there's one for the road there. Welcome all of you. This is what we do at times like this. No matter what the condition of the planet, even with a COVID virus, we still gather together in this kind of way. Because we're human. And this is what humans have always done ever since we were human. Gathered in this kind of way to farewell someone, to pay our respects, to come in support of family and friends and each other, and even of ourselves who need support also. So we come together to give and to receive. You're a comforting presence here today, to those round about you and of course to the family. You'll be remembering all sorts, I dare say, today. And over the past few days, thoughts will have come back to you that you've not had for perhaps decades. It's funny the kind of things you remember at times like this. Perhaps going back to childhood, back to remembering Elvia with husband John, deceased, remembering the days when. Going back to childhood, Sue and Kevin, remembering those days. This kind of time stirs up memories, and we even deliberately stir them up ourselves. We seek to revive some of our memories. Here we remember our siblings, Isabel and Leslie, parents Ernest and Ruby. Some of you will go back that far and recall those things also. Here we come in support of grandchildren, Garrett, Kai and Brock. As we come to celebrate a life. We no longer even call it a funeral service, we call it a celebration of life. So we come, and we don't necessarily come in all our black colours either, I can see that. We come in some brighter colours to celebrate a life. But even as we do that, we still have a tear in our eye because we're human. Someone we love has gone and our life won't be the same. We're trying to come to terms with it, it's emotional, we shed a tear. It's what humans do. But you're in a safe place to shed a tear. You're among others who feel something of what you're going through. One of the things we do at times like this is listen to music, listen to those words. Some poems have extra special meaning for us at times like this, and we say, that's just how I feel. It's as if it was written for me. Some of these are our oldest writings. They're so special to us, we call them sacred literature. Others are more modern. We're going to hear one of these now as Rochelle comes and brings some memories and a reading for us. Thanks, Rochelle.
Can I use your paperwork? Is that all right? I've got mine there.
There you go.
Thank
They're all
you.
there.
Living one's dash. You know what your dash is that little fragment of a line between the years of someone's birth and death. You know how it's written for Elva, it was 1944 dash to 2021. That tiny dash stands for everything Elva ever was or did. It covers all her accomplishments and fears, all her acclamations and losses, everything that made anybody notice and care that she ever lived at all. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. I'm honoured to know that inside Elva's dash is a piece of me, a piece of my family who loved her dearly. We spent many Christmases with her, birthday celebrations, we drank with her, we laughed with her, and we were the first to run straight to that cake box fighting over the caramel slices or her Weet-Bix slices with the lemon icing, her famous scones, her lemon butter, her tomato sauces, her curry chicken, the list just goes on and on. She exuded what a country nana was, and my kids just loved her. As she watched Matthew and Taylor grow up to become adults, and she even had a little soft spot for Stick, as he did for her. So, Granny, thank you for giving us the honour of being part of your dash and allowing me the gift of helping you your last couple of months, and especially the last week, getting you ready for your next chapter. It is something I'll treasure for the rest of my life, standing there with Sue next to you when you took your last breath on this earthly side. And while you're there, say hi to my mum for me.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Well done.
Yeah.
It's so hard for anyone to come here and to speak and to share from the heart, even a broken heart, through tears and a trembling voice, and share memories. It's so hard to do, but it's so worthwhile. And you would need to do it, you want to do it, and we're just so grateful to hear and share in that with you. Thank you so much for doing that. We take a moment now to see something of Elva's life and picture. This will stir up memories.
We will fly way up high, where the cold wind blows, or in the sun, laughing, having fun with all the people that you know. And if the situation should keep us separated, you know the world won't fall apart, and you will free the beautiful bird that's caught inside your heart. Can't you hear her? Oh, she cries so loud, casts her wild notes over water and cloud. That's the way it's gonna be, little darling. We'll be riding on the horses, yeah, way up in the sky, little darling. If you fall, pick you up, pick you up. You will grow, and until you go, I'll be right there by your side. And even then, whisper the wind, and she will carry up your end. I hear all the people of the world, and when birds lonely cry, see them trying every way they know how to make their spirit fly. Can't you see him? He's down on the ground, has a broken wing, looking all around. That's the way it's gonna be, little darling. You'll go riding on the horses, yeah, yeah, way up in the sky, little darling. If you fall, pick you up, pick you up. That's the way it's gonna be, little darling. We'll be riding on the horses, yeah, way up in the sky, little darling. If you fall, pick you up, pick you up. If you fall, pick you up, pick you up. If you fall, pick you up. I'll pick you up, darling, if you fall. Don't you worry about a thing, girl, because I was young myself and I see long ago.
Well done to the family. selecting those to share with us today. We're very grateful to you. There was almost a drink in every picture. I remember on one occasion my mother saying to me, "Kenneth, we don't have a photo of you without you having a glass in your hands." You could say the same for Elva. And that's probably why you all received stubby holders today, so that every time you've got a drink, you can then go, "Cheers, Elva." And in fact, we could probably say that right now. How about saying, "Cheers, Elva"? It'll be a privilege to hear what Sue has to say now, as she comes and pays tribute to Mum.
Okay. My mum didn't. My mum didn't make it to her 80th birthday, but I think I have more memories than if she had made it to 100. See, my mum believed that we only have one chance to make our lives count. Boy, did she ever. It would take me days to tell you all the incredible things, so I'll just give you the highlights. Mum's parents were Ernest and Ruby. They were dairy farmers. She has two older siblings, Isabel and Leslie. Mum was born in Kerrang Hospital on the 12th of October 1944. Mum spoke to Rochelle and I about some of her fond memories about growing up, and we could only imagine how crazy Mum was that she never grew up. She remembered attending Kerrang Primary School until grade 3. She said her and Joyce had to leave as the ratio was 2 girls to 9 boys. They had to travel into town to school to finish primary and high school. Once she had left school, she worked in the family dairy business until she married John on the 7th of January 1968. They moved into their own home in Kerrang. Dad and Mum had 2 kids. Kevin was born on the 30th of November 1968 and myself the 27th of May 1970, but Kevin was the favourite. Mum then started cleaning for the fortunate and was fortunate enough to have the women who cleaned for her babysit Kevin while she finished cleaning their homes. Mum and Dad were given the opportunity to share farm and dairy on a dairy in Cuyuna. Mum had the best sense of humour and the biggest laugh, and she never took anything too serious. But most of all, she was a private woman. So getting Mum to tell us about her life was challenging, but she always made sure there was a little something thrown in. So you never knew if it was the truth or her wicked sense of humour coming forth, but in the end she couldn't help herself and she would laugh that husky laugh. So it was a dead giveaway. Just before Easter this year, Mum started to lose the ability to talk.
So we sat down with her and we penned a few things. Memories for us, memories for her grandchildren, memories that will always be cherished, memories that we knew would be talking about sooner than we'd hoped for. We all knew why we were doing this. Mum said that when we used to milk the cows, we used to get the dog chain and tie Kevin up to the fence. Rochelle stopped riding and looked straight at Mum, shocked. Mum burst out laughing. She said, even though I felt like I wanted to tie him up, I never did. This just made an uncomfortable situation easy. So Mum's life in her words. John and I would take the kids to Barramara Cell for their monthly dinner outing. We befriended a few people in the club, especially Daryl and Brenda, who were the caterers of the club. Brenda and I hit it off instantly. John and I moved into Canonsgate Street, Kerrang. We'd go to the exchange to meet up with our friends and end up back at our house. It was affectionately known as the party house. Mark would always joke around and ask Mum if everyone would throw their keys in the bowl on the way in, and she would just laugh. She loved his sense of humour. She said we'd play cards, especially euchre. This is how we met Leslie and Mike. We would drive outside of town, have a few drinks and drive home. We farmed everywhere from Murrabit to Finley, so meeting up with our friends was always something I looked forward to. This house, the house at 5 Croton Street, is now owned by Garrett, my grandson. Garrett is my first grandson, so when I used to go and visit Garrett and stay with him, I would remember all the fun times and the hard times endured in this home. See, Elva actually lived in Croton Street, in Garrett's house that he's in now. So when Garrett purchased this house, it brought back lots of memories for Elva. When Elva would stay with Garrett, she would remember all the fun times and the hard times that she'd endured, and she was so happy that Garrett was purchasing not only his first home, but memories and her stories that come with this home. Up until Mum passed away, her and Leslie still maintained a loving friendship. In this same time, she met Judy and Dave, affectionately known as Witchy and Poppy. They attended their wedding and Dave and Judy honeymooned at our home. They became family. We would meet up and do trips on Bathurst weekend to the farm. We'd do comp shooting, corn pinching with Blood, Kay and Eric and Ash, Leslie and Mike, just to name a few. But Judy and Dave held a special place in Mum's heart and life. So much so that Dave played a fatherly figure in my adult life and also became one of Garrett's grandfather figures. In 1981, Daryl, Brenda and the family and our family packed up and we moved to Wyoming to start working in the catering business in New South Wales. Mum said Dad felt a bit uneasy about moving but followed his family. Our two families lived together until Mum and Dad got established and we moved to Niagara Park. Mum said she started working with Brenda and Daryl at the ANC Bowling Club and she would help them with the cooking. Today we would call that a sous chef, but Mum was like, no, I'm just a cook. To us, she was a magnificent cook who could make a 10-course meal and feed an army on leftovers. A bit of this and a bit of that, and before we knew it, Mum had just made an a la carte menu. We all know that Mum loved to have a beer in her duck's nut stubby cooler that was grafted to her hand whenever she went anywhere. She reckons she was a beer connoisseur. She says a beer connoisseur smells his beer before he drinks it and an alcoholic doesn't. She smelt her beer. Mum and Dad's marriage fell apart and she travelled the Central Coast finding herself. She settled in Yarramalong. One day Kevin said to her to go to the Palmers and talk to Wally and Pauline about some future employment. She went to see them and received a phone call about 2 hours later and was asked to start working in the kitchen in Yarramalong Manor. She spent some wonderful years working in the manor with Pauline and Wally, and she formed a special friendship with Pauline, and they still to this day remain good friends. Mum worked back and forth between Brenda and Pauline, helping both her friends, and they always made sure Mum was never out of work. They all looked after each other. Mum had gone back and worked with Brenda for a while before she went back to help Pauline after Wally had passed away. She made her usual scones, which were a hit at the manor, and she stayed and helped Pauline until Pauline decided it was time to sell and move on. Mum came to live with Mark and I, Garrett. Garrett was 1 at the time when his granny came. They formed a special bond, even to the point where Mum would go and visit Garrett in Kerrang and sit and drink with him and his mates. She loved having a beer with Garrett. She just loved spending time with him. She was so proud of him. She never told him because that was Mum. She wasn't like that, but we knew. We could tell by her smile. Her shoulders would go back and her demeanour would change soon as you mentioned his name. On the flip side, Garrett loved his granny just as much. Granny would stay at home with him while Mark and I started to do a little travelling, and she would let him and his mates get up to mischief, and she would help hide all the evidence. Cleaning up the bottles in the house. She was worse than Garrett, I think. She'd go next door and sit with Teddy and Cheryl. She was there if he needed her, but sometimes that worried me more because I think she was the one possibly needing help. I don't believe there would be not one friend of Garrett's that hasn't had a beer with Granny. Mum kept in contact with everyone whom entered her life and eventually returned back to working with Brenda at Club Tuggerah. Brenda eventually retired from catering and Mum, working her whole life, was not ready for retirement. She then started house sitting until her health would no longer allow her to continue working. Kevin has 2 boys, Kai and Brock, whom Mum adored. She loved spending time with them. She loved watching them grow into the young men that they are today, and she loved watching Kevin with his boys. She has fond memories of Kai coming up and mowing the lawns, and in return they'd sit and have a cold beer and chat. 3 years ago we lost Kevin. You're not supposed to outlive your children, and it devastated Mum. She had lost her only son, her favourite. I'd say to her all the time, he was your favourite, and she would just laugh it off like she always did. Mum had a laugh like no other, and her and Mark would spend hours joking. Back and forth. And Mark would give it to Mum all the time, and she'd just laugh and laugh. Sounds I'm really going to miss. She was always such a happy-go-lucky person. She made so many friends, which was so evident in the amount of messages that Mark, Garrett and I have received this last week. Right up until her last days here on earth, the day she was admitted to palliative care, she was still joking around. As frail and as weak as she was, she managed to keep Sue on her toes, ringing the bell, making her rush around thinking that someone was at the door. Then when Sue realised it was her mum, she rushed into the room to find Elva cheekily giggling with the bell on the floor that she tossed to look like she hadn't rung it. While we were in hospital the last week with Mum, everyone kept saying daughters, and it didn't take long for us two to say, well, yeah, we are her daughters. Mum had confided in Rochelle a lot towards the end, and it was only natural that Shane, Rochelle and Matthew and Taylor were a big part of her life too. We would laugh saying she had 4 grandsons and a granddaughter, and she even ended up in an honorary great-grandma. It was just so much easier than having to explain it all. Mum had spent Easter with them this year, and that's how much we all meant to each other. Even the day before she died, she still managed to wake up and say hello to little Alethea. She was at peace. She had gotten to see all her grandchildren before she'd left, and Rochelle and I had the honour of shepherding Mum to her resting place. Memories that I will cherish forever.
I love you, Mum. I hope you're up there having me.
Someone's trying to steal your thunder. So you chained Kevin to the fence. No wonder he was the favourite. You were wicked. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. The story of Mum's life, or at least bits and pieces of Mum's life, to remind us all and give us a flavour and to celebrate her life with you. We now have a touching moment as the family come forward and place their flower on the casket, and it really is quite literally a touching moment. If others would like to come forward, there's still a good number of flowers there. As we move towards the close of the service, there's a farewell poem, and Taylor's going to read that to us now. Thanks, Taylor. Yeah.
I was like, I can't make one up.
There we go. Just keep going.
There is a train at the station with a seat reserved just for you. We are excited about its destination as we have heard it sets you free. The trials and tribulations, the pain and the stress we breathe, don't exist where you are going, only happiness we believe. We hope you know that we will be there to wish you on your way. It's not a journey we can join in, it's not our time today. There'll be many destinations, some are happy, some are sad. Each one a brief reminder of the times that we've all had. Many friends we know are waiting who took an earlier train to greet and reassure you that nothing has really changed. You'll take the time together to catch up on the past, to build a new beginning, one that will always last. One day we'll take our journey on the train just like you.
Here comes the cavalry.
And promise that you'll be there with all the crew. This life is just a journey enriched by those we meet. No one can take that from us. It's always ours to keep. But now your seat you've taken, we'll have to muddle through. We will try to fulfill our ambitions as we know we will always be watched by you. And if there's an occasion to mention who we knew, you'll be the first we mention, as there was no one like you. Now the train has left the station, memories are all we have left. So off we will go to honour you by clinking a beer or possibly a few.
Thanks, Taylor. Thank you again, all of you, for being here today. If you'd like to join the family afterwards, they're going to the Wyong Bowling Club. If you're able to join them there, you'll be well received and they'll be very glad to see your face. We come together at times like this to be together. First and foremost, to be together, to see each other, to hold each other, to hold a hand, and so be comforted. We come and we remember some of the stories, we share some of the stories, we share our personal memories, we see some images, we celebrate someone's life, but we also come to farewell them, that hard part in the service, and we've come to that now. Though it breaks our heart to do so, we farewell Elva now with words of go in peace. For this we always stand in honour and in tribute, so if you're able, would you please be upstanding? Elva, we celebrate your life. We celebrate your life within our own, that our own is all the better for ever having had you in it. Some of us celebrate your gift of life, and now, though it breaks our hearts to do so, we farewell you. And we say, go in peace. Go in peace, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Go in peace. And of course, her concern today would be for you. Where yours is for her, hers would more so be for you and not for herself. She would wish you to be at peace this day. So I leave you with these words of a Celtic blessing, words of peace. Peace to you. Deep peace of the shining star to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of warm, assuring, comforting love to you. Comforting love to you that you may leave here, even here, in peace. We leave to Hasty Dixie. Walk this way. Go in peace.
Backstroke lover, always hiding beneath the covers till you talk to your daddy. He say you ain't seen nothing till you down on a muffin, and you sure to be changing your way. I met a cheerleader, was a real young bleeder. All the times I can reminisce, 'cause the best things of loving with her sister and her cousin only started with a little kiss like this. Seesaw swinging with the boys in the school and your feet flying up in the air. Singing, hey, diddy, diddy, with your kitty in the middle, and you swing like you didn't care. So I took a big chance at the high school dance with a missy who was ready to play. It wasn't me she was fooling, 'cause she knew what she was doing when she told me how to walk this way. She told me to walk this way, walk this way, walk this way, walk this way. She told me to walk this way, walk this way. She told me to walk this way, walk this way. Just give me a kiss. I like this. Girl sweetie with a classic kind of sassy little skirt climbing way up her knee. Now, there was 3 young ladies in the school gym locker when I noticed they was looking at me. I was a high school loser, never made it with a lady till the boys told me something I missed. And then my next door neighbor with a daughter had a favorite, gave her just a little kiss like this. Seesaw swinging with the boys in the school and your feet flying up in the air. Sing your hey diddle diddle with your kitty in the middle, and you swing like you didn't care. So I took a big chance at the high school dance with a missy who was ready to play. It wasn't me she was fooling, 'cause she knew what she was doing when she told me how to walk this way. She told me to walk this way, walk this way, walk this way, walk this way. She told me to walk this way, walk this way. She said walk this way, walk this way. Just give me